I'm withholding my truth of anger and rage about my industry. I hate it. It gives me I was like sobbing reading this the first time. It gives me a visceral gut punch to see so many people profiting from greed and ego. I hate the insurance industry and specifically the health insurance industry. It pains me to see so many people so stressed out, tired, and afraid that their basic needs will not be taken care of. And I hear it all day long. It's Real Money. I'm Lisa Chastain. Took a little hiatus this year from the show. It's been about 8 weeks or so since I filmed a show, and I'm back to my roots. Gail, you were my first guest on the show. My first show was an intro to me. Second show was with you, and I'm bringing it back to roots today because I got off track, and we all do.
Yes.
We all get off track. And I am, with my best friend, going to be as open and honest and real as humanly possible today because I feel like, yeah.
Love that.
I got off track for a lot of reasons. And I did a writing workshop, which we're going to talk a lot about because I want to share with you what I learned in this writing workshop. But I got off track because I was chasing. And that happens for me. And I think that everybody can relate to that. For me,
right.
I got off track because I was chasing fame. And it sent me down a path that I don't regret.
Right.
And I realized in our pause, Cree went on vacation. I took some downtime. I did some reflection. I was like, the show is not going in the direction that I want it to be going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking a step back today, getting back to me, and I'm myself most with you.
Ghoul. T.
What's that?
T, like safe zone.
Totes.
Ghoul. Isn't that what it was called? Ghoul? Safe zone?
I don't know.
All right. When you played tag and you'd always go to like that place that you knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't call it ghoul.
Okay.
Maybe that's a Midwestern thing.
Maybe.
I don't know. So yeah, I just was like, time out, Lisa. You're not doing what you set out to do originally, which was be open, real, honest. I was like, what if I retitle the show to like, We're All a Hot Mess?
Love that.
Right? Real money.
True. Mm-hmm.
We're all a hot mess.
And if you're not, you're a liar.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And so I've been working on the show and my presence on the show and getting coaching on how to show up with my guests and ask the right questions. And we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And I was like, well, I have learned a lot from the guests. And I'm super grateful for the guests that I've had on because I've learned from them that we're all a hot mess. Mm-hmm. There's all stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And my favorite times of the week are with you when we walk on Sundays because it's just, and I see other women walking and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get this. I totally get this. Like they're loud and they're like sharing and I can only imagine what people see when they see us walking.
Right.
Because I'm sure they're like,
especially because I get animated sometimes.
We all do. We do.
I stop and I have gestures that are big. Yes.
I love that about you. Mm-hmm. I love that about us.
Me too.
So we were in some really good conversation before we actually started the show. So I kind of want to just hop back into that seat.
Yeah.
And I want to start with a conversation about shame because I'm writing my new book and I was in this writing workshop this weekend and shame kept coming up. And Amy, who was our facilitator, kept saying, when you get it out, then you can do something with it. And when you get it out, it loses control over you.
Right.
It loses control over you. And I don't love certain things about who I've been in the money industry and what came out for me. And like through these prompts, I'll start with what
I want to hear those prompts.
Yeah. Was that I've gotten feedback over and over about this. Or like, Lisa, just be you, just be honest. And I'll go to say something and I'm like, button it up, put it in a package. You know, it has to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And in the money industry, I think that there is a lot of that. It has to be perfect. You have to say the right thing. And that's not what I don't really love any of that.
Right.
And I can't say that I totally love who I've been, but I think I've been in self-discovery and growth. And I'm proud of that there is no there.
Yes.
Which is what we say, right?
Yes,
There is no there.
Right.
So I'll start with these prompts.
Yeah, I want to hear them.
Okay. The first prompt was in 10 times we had to write this. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would be. And so if I didn't have to be perfect, I would be present and happy. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would love unconditionally. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would be fun. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would be whole and complete. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would be free. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would say what is on my heart. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would tell the truth. And that's the one I circled.
I would tell the truth?
I would tell the truth.
Okay. What's an example of that?
Well, it's interesting. No one else had the same connection to the word perfect that I do. And so that was like, that's where my weekend began. I was like, oh, motherfucker. Like, I did not come for this. I came to write. And I was like, okay, well, then I came for this. But for me, the word perfect is very triggering.
What does it mean?
People called me perfect growing up. And we had a somatic facilitator. So we have Amy, our facilitator, and then our somatic guest as a facilitator. And I, growing up, there's fight, flight, or freeze. And growing up, I became the freeze in the chaos of what was going on in our household. And I was juxtaposed against my brother from the beginning of time. Since I can remember that my brother was wild and crazy and moving, and they couldn't, he was just climbing roofs at the age of 2, like just out there. And there was perfect little Lisa laying there watching, didn't cause any trouble, didn't like rock the boat. And I developed this persona of perfection. You're perfect. You're perfect. You're perfect. You're perfect. And it shut me down. And then also I was in the middle. I'm the youngest by 4 minutes. But I was always in the middle of my brother and sister. My brother and sister fought like crazy. My brother got the brunt of my dad's anger. My sister and my mom fought like crazy. And there I was, like frozen. And it takes me back to the middle seat of my car growing up, where there's just chaos in the car and I'm in the middle, being perfect, not saying anything. And I was like, wow, like my whole life I've worked. Then here's where this shows up. I've worked to not be perfect because I hated that word so much.
What do you mean your whole life? Like since then?
When like teenage years.
Okay, got it.
Like when I started to realize that like.
You're like, I'm done with this.
This sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. And then that was like my.
Yeah. Gosh, that's funny. You and I have that in common. I didn't really realize that.
What if that resonates with you?
Well, it's funny. I was just telling Cree beforehand that when growing up and there was fighting and I felt the need to smooth everything over, I felt the need to make sure everything was okay, like make sure everyone was okay. And I agree with you. I have the same stance. Like, I'm done with this. Like, that's not serving me anymore. It's not my responsibility. And with what I'm doing, like trying to fast right now, those emotions keep coming up. And I have to look at them. They have so many angles. I guess I thought if I dealt with them one time, right? But they have different angles and I have to deal with them every time they come up. And I hope to be done dealing with them and recognize once and for all that that's not my responsibility to make sure everyone's peaceful and getting along.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that we had that in common. We do, which is very interesting.
Well, and that explains so much to me about why I made the choices that I made and still continue to make, is that rebel in me.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to prove to everyone that I wasn't perfect.
Right.
Because perfect wasn't fun.
Or freedom to do things our way.
Free to do things our way.
Right. Because we are we're going to do it differently.
Yeah.
We're going to do it differently.
Right.
It's super interesting.
Right. So the first B I got in 4th grade was like a wham, like a jab. And it was in math. So then I decided that I wasn't going to be good at math and that I was going to rebel against, even though I really loved math. But I was like, nope, not good at it. I'm not going to do it. And then it was in high school choosing the guy. Like, I didn't want the good boys. I wanted the bad boys. Because then I could not be perfect. And it made me feel alive. And I remember my mom telling me, you're in too big of a hurry to make mistakes. You're in too big of a hurry to make mistakes. She wanted me to be that perfect. She grew up in Catholic school, and we've never had this conversation, but I just reflect on those conversations. And like, well, that was her attachment to who I was supposed to be. And my dad, Southern Baptist, if I didn't do what he wanted me to do or what was perceived as a good girl, it was out with you. And this came up over and over with other people in the workshop.
So is it safe to say that you felt like you would not be loved and accepted if you weren't that?
Yeah.
Because that was reinforced growing up.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
It was. I mean, my parents started to disown me 3 times before I was out of the house. Actually, twice before I was out of the house, and then when I was out of the house. So, because I was not I was going to an Indian temple learning about Vedic culture, and it was just like, what are you doing? And it was the fear, I think, ultimately of them losing me. So I can't psychoanalyze them, but all I can do is say, well, this is why I've been who I've been and what I've done. And I want to fold it back into shame. Because the next day too was about shame. And I had a really big aha about why I'm so passionate about talking about financial shame.
Okay.
Because it's so isolating. All shame is.
Right.
All shame is. But the people that come to me as then want help with their money have so much shame. About their financial life, about their financial decisions. I hear things like, I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. And it's all, you were like, well, are we going to talk about money on the show? I'm like, well, it's all connected. All of it. Every single layer of our lives is connected to our money. Why we make the choices we make, why we don't make the choices that we make, why we hide, why we eat. I know for you, like we were talking about before the show.
Yep.
Will you finish that thought? Or if you remember even where we were talking about you fasting.
Yeah. What? Yeah. As far as what?
One, that it's a relationship with food that you're working on, just as much as my relationship with money I'm working on.
Right.
And how I'm working with people on their relationship with money.
Right.
But that when you feel a certain way.
Right. So when I was young and there was turmoil in the house, that's what I had control over because that was accessible. When I was 7, 8, 9, 10, right? There was food. Food was accessible. And I've recently recognized that when I eat and I'm full, like I'm very full, not just satisfied, but almost overeat, there's a chemical reaction that calms the nervous system down, which I didn't realize that before, but I would overeat a lot to calm down. I would overeat a lot, or I'd eat really quickly to get away from the stress.
I remember you telling me that.
I would eat more than I needed to. Yeah, Swifty, you just saw that for the first time like a week ago, which was super interesting. So yeah, I'd use food to calm myself down because it was what was available.
Did you get shamed?
Yes, I did, because I was a bigger kid and family members would take food away from me, dessert away, saying I didn't need it because I was big enough. Yeah, yes, for sure. I was told that I should not wear a tank top because my arms were too big and I would never be able to wear a tank top, or I would never be able to wear that outfit because of my body and the way I looked.
I know that there are so many people who need to hear that. And how I relate it to money is that we have the same conversations when it comes to money. And somehow it's starting the deeper layer of money shame and spending and why we spend and why we do what we do with money is becoming more prevalent, I've noticed, and it's not mainstream. And I believe that it's because ultimately money people aren't trained to deal with that shit. They're trained to deal with numbers, and numbers are safe.
So I was just thinking of the age. If I started using food to calm down, then how would someone start to use money? Does it happen when you're young? Is it just a transference of behavior?
It is.
Is that okay?
It's just it's just like alcohol. It's just like food. It's just like working out,
like a drug,
out, sex, anything.
Okay.
It just becomes another modality.
Okay.
For stuffing.
Well, interesting with food, you can fast, but you still need to spend money to live.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not like you can fast from money.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. That's interesting. I never thought of it like that.
You can, though. I mean, Dave Ramsey is a good example of that. Basically, his whole platform is that you need to stop spending.
Okay.
Cut everything down. Eat beans and rice. Like only spend on what's absolutely necessary. That would be an example of how you try to control a behavior.
Okay.
Very prescriptive way of dealing with money.
Right.
Versus going into the deeper issues.
Right.
And that has been painful for me. It's like, yeah, well, why? And my next book is Stop Budgeting, Start Living.
Right.
Because we try to control the behavior, eating, sleeping, sex, without really going deep at what the root cause is.
Mm-hmm.
What's the real reason?
Right.
So I thought I'd share some things with you. Yeah. They'll probably end up in my book. I mean, I cried all weekend.
Got to be exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
In such a good way, though. I walked in, so candidly, Jimmy and I went on a date Friday night.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually drink that much wine, but what I've realized is that I'm a lightweight, I guess is what you call it. I'm a real lightweight with alcohol.
Right.
And so I had a half bottle, which is the equivalent of probably 2 glasses, like 2 full glasses. Mm-hmm. I was super hungover. Yeah. So I walked into the workshop already edgy. And raw because I don't sleep good when I drink. And that was the truth. Like, if I didn't have to be perfect, I would tell the truth. I was like, I'm tired. Okay. I'm hungover. I don't sleep good, which you've seen me on this cycle and this journey of trying to quit drinking. And it's the numbing part of it. But I like having
We've had this conversation before.
I don't think I've had it with like on the podcast though.
Right.
Keep scratching my nose. I wonder what that's about. I like having a couple of drinks at the end of the day.
Right.
And it's never really more than that. But then I'm up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, my whole body.
We've talked about this at Pete's, I remember. So how do we know it's a problem then? If we do it, we like it, then when does it become a problem? When we have to have it? Mm-hmm. Is that when it's a problem? Like if it's not a problem, then what's the problem? And that's the same thing with money. It's all related. Like it is a problem for me. Because I say it's a problem for me. And I think that's all that needs to happen there. Yes.
Is for me to claim it.
Yes.
And go, this is a problem for me. And it's been a problem my whole life. I mean, looking back at my childhood, and I married an alcoholic.
Right.
Who didn't believe he was an alcoholic. And it wasn't until he lost everything, So it is a problem for me.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Why do I keep itching my nose? That's so funny. That came up in the workshops, and I'm like super conscientious of it.
What is it? You mean like it just happened in the workshop?
Like I'm talking about something and now my nose is itching.
I know, but what does that mean?
I don't know. Someone who's watching this, tell me what it means.
What does an itchy nose mean when you're talking?
Anyway, I've never done cocaine, so it can't be that.
Maybe it's got to be an emotional thing.
I think it does. I think it's a trigger.
Cree's looking it up right now.
She's looking it up. Okay. Tell me when you find it. Because I know it's like when your palms itch, money's supposed to be coming your way. Cree has it. An unexpected visitor is poised to come into my life very soon. Okay, cool. So we all have stuff. I got feedback because I was so open and raw that it was refreshing to hear a coach share vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm a great coach. Mm-hmm. So my doing the work, I think, even makes me a better coach. And that came up too, that because I have shame, because I've had life, I really empathize. And I don't want to coach perfection. And I think people come to me as a money coach ashamed that they're not perfect. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, what does financial perfection look like? Mm-hmm. And what what does financial health and wholeness look like? Because, and this is my truth, which is what I'll share in a minute, because I think there's a perception in the money industry and watching other financial experts on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube talk about money, like, well, if you want to be a millionaire, you do this.
Right.
That we've somehow idolized millionaires and billionaires as if they have anything more figured out than anybody else.
Right.
And what does it all really mean anyway? Yeah?
I agree. Yes, we've had this conversation before.
Yeah. So I'll just share my truth.
Share your truth.
Ooh, this is scary. I won't move my screen, Cree. I don't know if I'll read all of it. We'll see how it goes.
You're going to edit?
I'm not going to edit anything that I wrote, but I may or may not read all of it. The money industry is obsessed with perfection, that there is a right way and a wrong way. And that's caused me, I didn't write that, but that's caused me a lot of pain, which I think originally was my inspiration and motivation to start the show.
Is the money industry your parents?
Maybe. Great question.
I just thought of it.
Yeah, that's a great question. That they're obsessed with perfection. Yeah. That could be me rebelling.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good aha. It hurt a nerve finishing the sentence. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would be. The nerve was, I would tell the truth. I'm withholding my truth of anger and rage about my industry. I hate it. It gives me I was like sobbing reading this the first time. It gives me a visceral gut punch to see so many people profiting from greed and ego. I hate the insurance industry and specifically the health insurance industry. It pains me to see so many people so stressed out, tired, and afraid that their basic needs will not be taken care of. And I hear it all day long. I have a friend right now who is battling with a cancer diagnosis who doesn't have health insurance, and she's terrified to go to the doctor because she doesn't have health insurance. And it's like, boom. As a money coach, these are the conversations that I'm in all day long with my clients. It's not about the numbers, but it is. I'm tired of the projections of anger and shame and people spewing their opinions on others as if they were the truth. I can't tell you the number of experts. And maybe you've seen this, I don't know, because I'm in it all day long. I hear it all the time, but so much judgment about this person's doing this and they have debt and they're stupid and you don't do this, and you like so many rules where it like bubbles up and I have to turn it off because it makes me physically ill to listen to the conversations that are happening. Is it everyone? No. And it's a lot. It's a lot. I feel like people are getting really beat up. I'm bombarded with messages of inequity and advice that doesn't really seem to be getting people anywhere.
That takes a lot of self-awareness to sift through that, because you can take any of those vices that we talked about.
Yeah.
And there will be a way, there will be a set of rules to get off of XYZ, fill in the blank, right? And I mean, just for my own journey with food, there's so many experts and people out there that have done it a way that works for them. And for me, I found that I have to really sift through those. But if I didn't know myself, I wouldn't know what fits. I wouldn't know what fits with me.
Right.
And you're right about it's not a food issue or a money issue. It's what's behind that needs the work. That needs the work. Knowing yourself, because when you pull the curtain back, like what you're talking about, and you spend time to figure it out, it'll be easier to take and leave what serves you and what doesn't serve you in money or with money, right? Because some of the experts might work, some of what they say works,
but we can't treat it as absolute truth.
No.
Yeah.
But the person that does is struggling.
Yeah.
Like they just want the pain to go away.
Yeah.
They want the pain to go away, that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get on the right path, to fix it, but what they really want, in my opinion, is just the pain to go away. They want to
I
know that
agree.
they're okay.
Yep.
Right? And no set of rules is going to ensure that that person is okay.
Yeah. I agree.
You need to know. And honestly, I'm not going to be okay for the rest of my life.
No.
I'm a work in progress. We both are.
Yeah.
And there's learning to be done. There's learning to be had. And the rules, they'll come and go with you and your growth.
Yep.
So what I thought worked for me a few years ago might not work now. And
No.
that's all right.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah.
So like finding experts and finding people, it's like you take what you need,
Right.
and it's not absolute truth.
No, but I recognize that in my most desperate time and in the greatest amount of pain, I will sell myself out to follow the rules because that person is telling me I'm going to be better. I'll sell out. I will ignore myself because I want the pain to go away.
I've done that too.
I've done that so many times, and I'm just saying it now out loud for the first time.
Thank you.
Like I've never said that before, but it makes sense.
Mm.
It seems to it's happened to me a ton.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you go to a doctor and they tell you what to do.
Right.
And you don't listen. Or me too. Like do this. No. I'm not going to do it that way.
Right.
Which is a whole nother conversation about
I know.
doing things our way.
Were you done with your truth, friend? I didn't want to.
Oh no, this is like pages long. It's pages long. So I'll save it for the book. I will say though, this is what struck a chord the most is the conversation of enough and what is enough. And where I'm at with money today, I think and this isn't in the writing, but, and not to project my beliefs onto other people, but to just share honestly where I'm at today is that capitalism and hoarding money is killing us. It's hurting people. And it really hurts, and it hurts me.
How is that hurting people? Like, who's it hurting?
The haves and the have-nots.
Okay. So the rich
people, I guess. I don't have anything against rich people per se.
Go ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So who's it hurting?
Companies that are chasing profit.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think we're at a culmination in our time,
Mm-hmm.
where on the planet today, where we're seeing real time the devastation that companies chasing profit are doing. We're seeing rainforests being destructed, real time. Yeah. We're seeing lakes and rivers being bombarded with chemicals. Mass devastation for the meat market, for cows. That there's no balance, and there's conversations of how do we bring things back into balance, but then also what really is enough to be happy. I had a conversation with an entrepreneur and a very wealthy man, and I asked him, "What's your goal?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to do here?" And he said, "I want $1 billion." And I was like, "Well, why? Why do you want $1 billion?" And this is not to bash wealthy people. Right. It really isn't. Like, go do you.
I get it.
But what do you need all that money for?
Wait a minute. You're talking out of two sides of your mouth. It's not to bash.
It's not. I mean, like, as a human being, like, I'm not questioning you. Like, do you? And why? Why do you need all that money?
Yeah.
What is all of it for?
Okay.
Seeing that there are so many people that don't have basic
what did he say?
needs.
What did he say?
I didn't call him out on that. And so again, going back to my truth, why didn't I call him out on that? It was to be polite and nice and sweet and non-judgmental, non-confrontational. Yeah. Like, and it was like, well, I want to give back, and I want to have enough money for my family. And if the world goes a certain direction, I have enough money for my family, all the things. I'm like, okay, is that enough? Is $1 billion enough? And if it's not enough, what does that say about someone who has $10,000 in their bank account? But on the other side, I've been around and with clients who do have $3,000 to their name,
right,
in a conversation of having enough. Well, I have enough. I have enough to pay my bills. And so it was the ultimate question for me of like, well, what is enough for me?
Right.
Versus what other people say is enough.
Yes.
And I think that everybody that I work with comes to me in that question. Am I going to have enough? Am I enough? What
Are those
is
the
enough?
same? Is the answer the same for those?
I don't know. It's a great question.
Am I enough and do I have enough?
Am I enough?
So if you're enough, does the number matter?
Enough?
If you're
the
enough.
retirement industry would say no, because you have to have X amount saved, and people are terrified of not having enough.
Have you recognized a correlation between that question and the enough question?
I haven't looked at it deeply enough.
Okay.
Enough.
I
haven't looked at it deeply enough.
Okay.
I would I've been reading the Tao recently, Wayne Dyer stuff. And I think that the answer is that it's all connected, because if I am enough, wholly enough, then isn't everything enough?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think so. But I wonder how many people say but.
A lot.
And then have you seen the needle move? Like if they have $1 million, do they want 10 million? And if they have 10 million, does the needle move?
I think so.
Does it?
I think so.
I think so too. I mean, so then you have 10 million, then you want $1 billion. Like, and then what? So is it really a number issue? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's a human issue.
It's a human issue.
Because if I don't have enough, what does that mean? And I think the fear is now watching. I'm with clients of all ages, clients in this question in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s and their 50s. And as our women, as we age, it's then a question of, am I going to have enough? Are my kids going to have enough? And do my parents have enough? And then if my parents don't have enough, I've seen a lot of pain of, well, my parents don't have enough. So then I'm going to have to take care of my parents. And how am I going to do that? Or we have to put my mom, we've had these conversations about your parents, your mom in particular.
Yeah.
What happens? How do I pay for that?
Right.
Do I give them over to the state? Do they have enough for $10,000 a month for living care? I mean, this is all money industry conversation. And it just opened up a lot for me. Like, why am I doing this? And so the shame conversation was, well, I know what it's like to feel shame. And so I wrote this on day 2, which was a big aha for me. When we take the numbers away, all we have is life. Raw, real, in our face, loud, bright, dark, kind, ugly, formless, connected, growing, dying, and just fucking breathtaking. So the experiences, like looking back at my childhood up till like the age of 30, like up until I had Connor, when I actually had to grow up. The experiences I seek, so I'm reflecting on my childhood here, the experiences that I was seeking were the ones that made me feel alive, not perfect.
Up until 30.
Well, up until I stopped the partying.
Okay.
But even I think I did some things that were not healthy through otherwise, but just to really look and examine of what were the things that I was doing that were making me feel alive, because perfect made me feel numb.
And keep going.
Okay. I never learned how to give myself permission to enjoy anything. Sex was shameful. Drinking and drugs were shameful. Divorce was shameful. We've had this conversation. Being naked was shameful. Just in the mirror, looking at all my cellulite and my stretch marks. Right? All of it. I hid from myself most of the time, shaming and judging my body, my house, my car. Not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not big enough. It's not clean enough. And everything around me that was a reminder that I wasn't enough. So those experiences I misplaced with aliveness. So having done the work, and I've been in the work since we've met, peeling back the layers. Today, what it means to be alive is something totally different, Feeling alive means being connected,
Yes.
emotional,
Yes.
honest, raw, sincere, listening, vibrant, breathing,
Mm-hmm.
just breathing.
Yes.
Touching, kissing, loving, hugging, giving, smiling, watching sunrises and sunsets, and just being. I used to run to feel alive. Run meaning running away from my problems.
Okay.
Stuffing,
Right.
drinking, drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and this was my connection, is that I think that this is what a lot of people are doing to just justify their existence. And so it goes on, but I feel really grateful to be a woman in America today. And so as I kept writing and I kept digging, I think it's the third verse of the Tao is that there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was on repeat all weekend
Mm-hmm.
of happiness is the way, choosing happiness. And I think people are like, well, money's not going to make me happy. Sex isn't going to make me happy. Food's not going to make
Right.
me happy. This person isn't going to make me happy.
Right.
Not every woman in the world has the ability to freely explore these things.
Right.
And freely be there. There's a lot of control.
Yes.
And control of money. And I know I feel like I'm going all over the place, but these are like really big epiphanies for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it made me really sad. Like, wow, I've had the freedom. I've given myself the freedom
Mm-hmm.
to do these things, to figure it out, to invest in myself, to in some ways break up with my parents just to make up with them again, to be like, all right, like,
Yeah.
I got to go figure this out on my own, to get a divorce,
Yep.
to start and grow a business, to go into debt even. I've had the
Mhm.
freedom to go into debt in America. And not every woman on the planet has the freedom to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that brought me right back home to why I'm in the industry, to make it my personal mission to open up this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
By sharing, hopefully then I can, one, free myself up, but then give other women permission to do the same.
Which is the best kind of teacher. The one that's going through it and learning at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was like, in it.
You were in it.
In it.
You were in it.
In it. In it. In it.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Did you read the rest of them on your list?
So if I didn't have to be perfect, I would be angry. Because anger, I've said this before. I haven't read it's not in my book. I've said it before in podcast interviews.
You would be angry?
I would be angry.
Like
angry. Just
Okay.
angry.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
pissed. But good girls aren't angry. So that good girl, perfect persona,
Right.
I shared with the group that I was freshman class president, sophomore class president,
Right.
junior class president, senior class president, student body president, and homecoming queen.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, nobody cries for the homecoming queen.
So what is anger like? Like what is that? Like cuz I
Be pissed. I was
you
pissed.
didn't have the freedom to be pissed?
Mm-mm.
Really?
No, it was shut
Did you
down.
have but you could be happy, but you couldn't be
Mhm.
pissed. Okay, so you'd be
I
angry.
could be happy. I'd be angry. I'd be angry at my ex-husband.
Wow.
I wasn't.
So where did it go if it wasn't anger?
Shoved it down.
Ah.
It's right here.
Oh, that's
It's
right. Because
right
you
here.
store Okay.
It's all right here.
You store stuff there.
Not
yeah.
feeling my emotions, not naming my emotions.
They'll feel you.
They will. They're all in there.
They'll get you. That's why I have tight hips.
Is
They'll-
it?
Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely.
And going through college, college was such an eye-opening experience for me because I was like, holy shit, like there's a lot going on in the world that I had no idea about.
Right.
And I was angry. I was angry about racism. I was angry about injustice. I was angry about 9/11 because that's when I was going through college. I was angry
Yeah.
and no place to be angry. No person to be angry with. So what did I do? A lot of ecstasy,
Yeah.
a lot of partying,
Yeah.
like rage dancing,
Mm-hmm.
trying to
Getting it out.
do something with
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Smoking weed,
Totally get that.
drinking, partying. I know you get that.
So how are you angry now then?
Some of that is about, I think, what like I'm not in particular angry about my life today.
Yeah.
I love my life today.
Mm-hmm.
To see children dying,
Mm-hmm.
real time, to see what's happening with Gaza and Israel,
Right.
women, children not having their needs met, being those things anger me.
Yep.
And someone wrote me a note at the end of the retreat and they said, your anger is your purpose. And I was like, let me lean into that. It angers me that someone doesn't get medical care because they can't afford it.
Right.
Or because they're afraid of going bankrupt.
Right.
That stuff is not cool.
No, it's not. No, you're right.
Not cool. Or that people go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to
try and get better.
fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or that because someone has a certain amount of money, that they're better than, more than, you name it.
Right.
We're all amazing. I mean, isn't that what God says?
We are.
We're all children of God.
We are.
What makes one person better than the other?
There isn't anything. Foot of the cross is level ground.
I love that. I love that when you say that. So then, if I didn't have to be perfect, I would enjoy my life.
This is so interesting because I see you maybe too much outside of work, like, because this is the way I see you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's the honest stuff. And it's not to say that I'm not. It's not to say that I'm not. I do love my life, but there was a time where I didn't.
Okay.
And so that perfection word, it was just like,
yeah.
Bomb, 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 looking at my life, looking at my choices, looking at all the things, which is what these weekends are designed to do.
Right.
So then, then the prompt was, I'm proud that.
Okay.
So I'm proud that I'm a mom of my boys. I'm proud that I keep moving.
Yes.
I'm proud that I don't let fear get in my way. I'm proud that I connect deeply with others.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud that others are seen and heard and valued in my space.
Mm-hmm.
That's the feedback you and I get all the time from people, that they feel seen and heard.
Yes.
And I do believe it's our pain and our background where I have felt so much shame for so many reasons that
mm-hmm.
I want other people to feel that they're not alone
mm-hmm.
and that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud that I'm not perfect.
Yay!
I'm proud that I do my best, that I continue to work at it, that I don't give up, I'm persistent, and that I'm still growing. Those are things that I'm proud of.
What was number 10?
I'm still growing.
Yeah. Proud that I'm still growing.
Mm-hmm. Not taller. Not taller. If you're watching this, I'm 5 foot tall.
Can't change that.
You can't change that. Anyway, this feels like the conversation that I've been needing and wanting to have on the show from the beginning. And that I've stopped myself because I felt like it needed to look a certain way and sound a certain way and be formatted a certain way. And I feel like the only thing that's really going to help people is by me going first.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing. And if nothing else, I have a really cool recording of me and you having cool conversations.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have experienced you to be vulnerable, to have fun. You are a fun haver.
I love having fun.
Especially dancing.
Mm-hmm.
You love dancing.
I
You
do.
like having fun.
Yeah.
And I think you call out people's BS. You're flexible. You're fluid. You accept people for where they are. But one thing that you and I very much appreciate is for like growth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Growth. Because I don't know, the constant complaining or swirling, like everyone needs to go through that, but that's tiring and it's hard. It's hard to work with that. If they don't want to move off the mark, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those people come in and out of my circle pretty quickly.
Right.
Or we choose out of those relationships.
Right.
And I will say, just, for anybody who's listening, that's the growth game.
Yeah. Some
people are not going to want to move.
Right.
So here's you want to hear this other piece of it? Because I think that's a good point. This was funny. She said she stole it from Oprah. So if you're looking for a really good exercise to do today, this would be a good one. She said she saw an Oprah magazine, which I thought was really good. So I can think, okay, so the person that is think of someone who's super stuck. And I think we can both think of someone who's super stuck.
Sure.
Okay. So this person is getting in their own way by being so, and I put proud and stubborn.
Okay.
This person could really break through if they would only put themselves first.
Right.
This person knew that if this person knew what was good for them, they would be trusting. Meanwhile, I also know someone who is brave enough to do anything he or she wants. The quality that person has or is so amazing is that they are courageous and kind. I'm grateful this person didn't give in, but instead behaved in a way that was vulnerable and curious. That's the growth. If I had this person as a mentor, I'd have the guts to be seen. Nice. Because for me, that's been if I'm not perfect,
you're not going to be seen.
I'm not going to be valued or loved.
Right.
If this person were mentoring me, what I'd love to hear them say is, you are safe and you are capable. So then we had to rephrase it. I knew I would this is a mirror, because everything in life is a mirror. When I can think of times when I'm super stuck. I can think of times when I was proud and stubborn. I really need to just put myself first. I'm really just afraid of change. That's why I brought this up, because you're talking about change. People are afraid of change. And I know for me, that was in my divorce, the reason I stayed for so long is I was so afraid of change. I was so afraid of what I was going to have to do on the other side of divorce. I was so afraid. Really, I was afraid that he was going to commit suicide. I was really afraid of that if I left, he would commit suicide. Narcissists don't do that, though.
Right.
That was my fear. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know.
Right.
But he didn't, and I'm grateful for that.
It's a good old-fashioned butt kicking you got in that weekend.
Totally. If I knew what was good for me, I would be trusting. On the other hand, what makes me so amazing is that I'm courageous and kind. I can recall times when I've had the courage to behave in a way that was vulnerable and curious. Deep down, I have everything it takes to be seen. My true self is always guiding and comfort me. Right now, it's saying I am safe and capable.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that was a good old-fashioned butt kicking.
Yes, you are.
But it was so, so needed. In such a gentle, we literally just sat there for 2 days.
Right.
No pushing, no prodding, no pulling, no antics.
Yeah. We like no antics. We like just getting down to it.
How we do.
Yeah.
We do. Scary stuff. Scary stuff.
Which is what brings us back to basics right now.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Just share.
Yeah.
Just be honest. Be honest with what's in my heart. Be honest with my guests. Be curious. Be vulnerable. And I thought that I had to put on a show. And that is the perfectionist in me.
Right.
Versus just being on my couch.
When you ask crazy questions, that's the best. When you ask pushing questions, that's so you, and it's so powerful. And then you just shut up and you just sit there and wait. You do that very well.
So I should just do more of that.
I love that.
Do you want me to ask you some questions?
Go ahead. Ask whatever you want. You coloring outside of the lines questions.
Yeah. So, just to reflect, the one of the reasons I had you on today is because I am myself with you, 100% myself with you. and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, well, you need a sidekick on the show because it's more, for me, I've gotten feedback that I'm more myself in front of the camera, just back and forth with people.
Yeah.
Than I am trying to like talk.
Yeah.
To
Okay,
the camera.
got it.
So I was like, I need Gail.
Sidekick. I'm in. I'm in.
We have a few more minutes. You're almost exactly 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell your 44-year-old self?
About what? Life?
Sure.
So, that's a super interesting question. That's an interesting question for me. And I rack my brain sometimes with other people that are doing things. And I'm like, why can't I figure that out? Or why can't I do that? Right. And honestly, friend, there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now than trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like at 44, like you're figuring it out. So I'd say this, be kind to yourself. And as we're both being aware, it's okay to mess up. Like you and I naturally, we need to make mistakes. That's okay. But if someone told me that, if I'm not in the right frame of mind, I'm not going to listen to it anyway. So everyone needs to go through what they need to go through at any age.
Yep.
Like it's all meant to be.
It is.
It's all perfect. The timing is perfect. There's nothing I would have changed because I'm strong-willed. I'm stubborn. I'm defiant naturally. Like I'm going to listen to what I want to listen to and when I want to listen to it.
Yep.
Just like you.
Yep.
And I accept that. There's some lessons I had to learn the hard way. I'm still learning the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's what works.
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, the less I try and be anything else. But it's amazing how much effort it takes just to try and be me.
Wow.
It sounds so ridiculous. Like getting back to being 8, like riding your bike to the gas station and spending all your allowance on gum and sitting on the curb and chewing the bubble yum or hubba bubba or whatever it was. Just, I try to be 8 a lot. Just try and be guttural and me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We get lost.
Yeah.
We get so lost.
Right.
We get so lost. I think that's a perfect way to end the show, is getting back to who we really are.
Yes.
So I'll share with you who I am because I wrote a lot about that this weekend.
Good.
People ask me what I didn't plan on this, but I'm glad it happened this way, and we'll end the show here. People ask me what I would tell my younger self.
Okay.
The first thing that comes to mind is to say no more often. Say no to anything that does not make you feel good, like really good.
Mm-hmm.
Feel good. Like take your breath away good. I remember as a kid, I'd lay in my backyard for hours watching the clouds.
On the grass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just watching the clouds. And I was like, that's who I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Say no to anything that is not a burning desire.
Mm-hmm.
Other things I wish I would have had the ability to hear and really listen were to slow down. Like, slow the fuck down. Just slow down. My mom was telling me, in her wisdom years.
Right.
Watch the birds sing. I love to do that on our walks.
All animals.
I stopped.
Look at that lizard. Look at that fly. Look at that bird. Yes.
Hold hands a little longer. Sleep in and walk often. Pay attention to things that bring me closer to God. Nature, watching the waves pull in and out. This is the little girl that I used to be, and she's still in there. Adventurous, determined, funny, mischievous, risk-taking, loving, quiet, smart, inquisitive, hungry for knowledge, compassionate, curious. Everything my dad was. So this was a powerful parallel for me. And I think that scared the hell out of him. He saw all of that in me.
Right.
And that happens. People, people want to pull it back. And I've done that with Connor a few times in life. Where
what do you mean? What do you mean? Pull it back?
Pull back all the adventure and craziness. and because it's not safe.
I see. Okay, there's a judgment on that then. Okay, got it.
Anyway, those are parts of me. So without taking it totally out of context, I'm going to give myself permission to be myself.
I love that.
Thank you for working on you being you too.
Yeah. It's in our lane.
It is.
Yep.
And I love you.
I love you too, friend.
For who you are. So for those of you who are listening, you are listening, actually, not for those of you are listening to Real Money with Lisa Chastain. I'm so grateful that you're here today. My call to action for you today is to have the courage to be yourself. Have the courage to figure out what sets your life on fire and start living in that direction. We'll figure the money out along the way.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks so much for being here today. I hope this conversation was super inspiring for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking to take the first step in my world, I know that you need to know your money personality. Join me on the adventure of knowing what your money personality is and how you can live your healthiest life financially. Do that today.